So from my side, guys, I just want to say a real warm welcome, or is it a cold welcome? Nice to be here in the middle of winter, but it's not that bad. Appreciate you making the time. A lot of you came across the XK. I know that's a challenge, so welcome this side. Maybe that's specifically for the MIP guys. The rest of you, there are some people from far away. I think the furthest would be Namibia at this point. Abigail, where are you? There we go. Thanks for joining us. There's some people that we've recently met, not so long ago, and then some faces I can really remember from when I had hair and they were not grey. So it's really amazing to have you guys here. There's so much memories. If I look around the table, think about all the old conferences and the stuff we've done as young ones. We survived it, guys, so welcome. I'm glad you made it. When Rick and I started talking about this was Rick's idea, it's not my idea, but we wanted to do this around about 2020, but something happened. Life stopped for 3 years. And when Rick, Stephen, Mel, and myself came together earlier this year with a bit of a strategy session, we figured actually 25 years of having progress around, it's actually more than that. Progress has been in the country more than 30 years, but 25 years under, call it our wing, and then Yellowfin 10 years. And we thought that's more something to celebrate. And then Rick just threw it out there and said, well, you know what, I turned 75, so maybe we call this 75, 25, 10.
Hey, hi Rick. How are you doing, bud? Sorry I couldn't be at your 75th, 25th, 10th, but I couldn't think of a more apt description for a birthday party or a celebration, let's put it that way. I've known you for some 28 years now, and it's amazing the way you name your celebration describes your personality. Nothing's ever done in half measure. Celebrating 25 years of starting your own business in ARGS and Progress, and then 10 years on with Yellowfin doing and repeating the same thing. And when we originally got to know each other was really around entrepreneurship, trying to build businesses, and here you sit 27 years later, 28 years later since we first met, and successfully celebrating a great life. I would like to also just give you a big thumbs up on your family. The many lunches, breakfasts, travel that we've had, so many different things that we've done together, but always a super proud granddad now and dad. Annabelle, you and Toby with your son Max. I don't think Rick could have been prouder the day Max was born, but always speaking about you, Annabelle, in the highest regard, doing deals. I know, with your law background, always doing interesting things, working on interesting cases that kept your dad so interested and excited where you were going. And then obviously, Alex, you know, you and Sky getting married quite recently really made your dad's journey all-rounded, for want of a better word. I know, you just like your dad, you're a real entrepreneur, doing your own thing, own business, whatever, and making a success of it. So, you know, all of these perceptions I get from your dad. Rick, building a business is not easy, and I know there was a big thing for you and I when we originally got to know each other. That Rick is 20 years my senior. And when I was 30 at MIP, it felt like Rick was an old guy. But today, Rick is still 20 years my senior. I'm 55, and it just feels like we're brothers. We've had a long journey together and a successful journey. And, a lot of my success was reaped from some of Rick's negotiation that he handled in Boston for me and MIP. So, we really owe you a lot, Rick, in the whole billing model. If you think about the software as a service billing model, we test drove that some 25 odd years ago, billing per policy, per member per month, not paying license fees. Oh my gosh, some guys just started cutting some stuff up here. Let me just walk down the road. Sorry, Rick, I'm sitting in Dublin, celebrating. I'm just about to go into this pub behind me here, the Temple Bar, to have a quick Guinness on your success. So, I just wanted to say that you helped us with the billing model. You went to Progress. Without a contract, you took so many risks on our behalf. And today we employ 550 odd people. We're a $500 million company, and we've got a lot to thank you for. So I really want to say thank you, Rick. Sorry I couldn't be at your special day. But I know a lot of my guys are there. They will give you a hug and a kiss from me. And everybody else, I hope you have a great celebration. Cheers, Rick. Bye.
Best wishes from Sydney is the message I send to you, your business, family and friends. I've joined the ranks of grandfatherdom, and that's the reason I just couldn't come. Please find below my thoughts put to text, hopefully read loud by the lovely Alex. We first met at real time. 98 could it be? You were told I was difficult, but soon came to see I was simply a styleman in need of progress, and you made it happen, I'm pleased to confess. Two jumped up salesmen, neither that tall. We've not done badly answering Africa's call, sharing 25 years of business and pleasure. Sad I'm not there, as your friendship I treasure. At 75, you're just 3/4 done. So enjoy your party and make every day fun. I've got nappies to change and it's getting late. Off duty in August, then we'll celebrate. Was going to send this data by Move It, but then read the news and thought they might lose it. So sent it via Alex, knowing for sure, on the 14th of June, it will still be secure. Rick, great to be part of your ongoing story and having you part of mine. Take care, sincerely, Richard.
Dear Rick, greetings from Prague, Czech Republic, from two guys you know, Pavel and Tom. Rick, we would like to wish you all the best to your celebration. We do prize the moment we met you. It has been an honor to work and joy to party with you.
Well, you may not know it, but the way you do business is an inspiration to us, even now. Complemented with your great sense of humor, it was always a recipe for success. Hoping you're doing well, and we look forward to meeting you again soon, either here in Europe or who knows, we may jump into your country one day. Take care, good luck, and cheers.
Thanks for that. Guys, so when Rick asked me to be the MC, I really knew that I'd have to prep well. The prepare to fail, fail to prepare thing. Rick does things differently. And he's got this saying that whenever you think you've done it, think what else you can do. And that's the ethos. That's what I learned working with him. Firstly, as a supplier to us, a company that I work for, and then working directly with him. And he's been a mentor, he's been an inspiration, and he's been a leader, and he's been a friend. So I knew I had to make a good job of it. So luckily, recently I attended some graduation ceremonies. My baby, who is a grown daughter, I know Rick, but she's also my baby. And there was a speaker there. I also watched the MIT graduation speech. I love it. The guys are really clever. They're very good. And they do a lot of effort. Now, what was common between the two that I've referenced now, they both admitted they used ChatGPT to build their speeches. So I thought, well, you know, being a techie, I love tech, I'm going to do the same. Now, for you that have done some reading, AI and ChatGPT is not just about asking the questions. You have to prompt it quick. You know, it's got to be right in the prompts. So those guys, what they said is they wanted a notable speech for an esteemed audience, including students, parents, and academics, blah, 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 which helped them build their speeches. So I thought, what am I going to put in there to make sure that I get the right message out and get the right prompt to respond to this? So this was my question or my prompt for ChatGPT. I said the audience consists of entrepreneurs, business owners, senior managers of very successful companies, employees, members, and a long-standing range of business partners. It promptly came back with a message that said, as a large language model trained by OpenAI, I can generate text on a wide range of topics. I can assist you with various tasks, but with an audience like that, there's bound to be a bunch of smart asses, so just welcome them.
I'm probably the only person who hasn't been in a rush to use ChatGPT to show any of my editors it can write my columns for me. When all my peers keep doing it, I'm like, what a bunch of schmucks. So, apart from getting the sequence of the numbers wrong, I'm going to talk to you about these three magical numbers. That is Rick, the smaller of the three boys, in 1949. Those are the earliest photographs his brother Charles gave me. And that's his grandfather on the far right. Sorry, his father. His father on the far right, leading the procedure or the parade for King George's funeral in 1952 in some country called the UK. That is the sword, by the way, in his father's hand that he used to cut his daughter's wedding cake just last year. Let's move to 1977, which was the year Rick entered the IT business. It was also the year that the personal computing industry technically began. I mean, I say this with great authority because I looked at Encyclopedia Britannica, which in 1977 I was still reading in print. Very robust battery life, I'll have you know. And the first three personal computers were born. The Mac II, the Tandy, and the PET from Commodore. Let's talk about 10, because 10 is a very interesting thing. And the first thing I thought about when we were talking about 10 as one of the themes is this famous statement by Malcolm Gladwell. Those were his exact words: 10,000 hours is the magic number of greatness. And what that really means is you've got to practice doing something for 10,000 hours to become a master. People often say, and I've heard him say this, people often say, but Beethoven was a genius at 9, and his response is, but did you ever listen to one of his compositions from when he was 9 years old? So 10,000 hours translates into roughly 10 years if you work on it for 20 hours a week. I didn't calculate that myself, Rick. I'm sorry. I stole it off the internet, just as I did this picture of Malcolm Gladwell. There are other pictures of him, but I like this one because he looks like someone else I know, just with better glasses or better vision. It's 10 years since I did my TED Talk, as it happens, this very month. A final word from Steve Jobs himself. I was proud, actually, years later to discover after I'd found this analogy between the horse-drawn carriage and the Model T Ford that Steve Jobs used to, when people said to him, why do you never ask customers what they want? He said, because they'd ask for a faster horse-drawn carriage. So, there I am. You better tell your sister I compared myself to Steve Jobs. I haven't compared myself to Einstein, but just for the record, I will. She asked me a question once, and I went, I don't remember. I wrote it down. She's like, how can you not remember? And I said, you know, Einstein didn't know his own phone number. which I thought was a really good way to prove a point, right? To which she said, are you comparing yourself to Einstein? But of course, you know, any Jewish father will tell you their kid's a genius. I was recently reminded of what the definition of genius is, by the way. Children born to average Jewish parents. So Steve Jobs really said this well, and this was the phrase he used in his biography, so it came out after he died, but he was very good at, they had the best-selling MP3 player in the world, the iPod Mini, they just canned it, and they started the iPod Nano. A year later, it was the best-selling MP3 in the world. This guy, you probably don't know him, Steven Sunderberg, was the guy who invented the digital camera. Do you know what year it is? 1976. And my favorite part is the storage medium of the day. Can you see? It's a cassette tape. And this is just another great example of change is inevitable unless we change ourselves, unless we get out of our comfort zone and do something different, as my 75-year-old grandfather, father-in-law does, grandfather to my child. I was telling someone at lunch today, you've ridden 8 94.7s, yeah, cycles a whole lot, makes me look bad. I'm a non-practicing health fanatic. What can I say? Technology has changed our life so fundamentally that we've had to reimagine Maslow's hierarchy of needs to the point where actually what we all just need is free Wi-Fi. Yep.
I thought a lot about today, over the last few weeks, not really knowing quite how I was going to handle it, what was going to happen. And as Gustav said, don't worry, Rick, you'll wing it like you normally do. And I guess, yeah, today is really about thanking all of you. And I mean, it's not about me. I'm just a bit part player. It's all about you, because any success that we've had in the last 25 years is down to all of you, in one way or another. Everybody here has either worked for us over the last 25 years, or been a customer, or been a partner, and still is. And I often say to people that there's an argument, or there's a statement that goes around the world, that says, you know, why is a company in business? And the standard answer is to deliver shareholder value to the shareholders. That's bullshit. We're in business for our customers. If we didn't have customers, we wouldn't have a business. The other thing we're in business for is to provide employment to people. And without, you know, those are the two reasons we're in business, and that's what I believe. It's all about you. It's about customers, and partners, and the employees, the staff, or whatever you like to call them. So this is all about you, and a thank you to you. But those 8.5 years that I spent in the Navy defined me. It taught me most of what I know about people, about life, about experiences, and virtually daily I go back to the learnings that I got in those 8.5 years. So that was very defining for me. People ask me, do you regret your time in the Navy? I said, no, I don't regret a second of it, but I also don't regret having left it, because life moved on. I then went into the retail trade. Anybody familiar with the retail trade in the UK? A company called John Lewis. I joined them in a management training program. And I spent about 3 years with them, and that taught me 3 things. One, that I could sell. I was pretty good at it. Second, that I enjoyed it. And thirdly, I hated the retail trade. The boss of the store I was working, I was part of a management team that opened up a big new store in North London in whatever it was, 76. And after I had invited people in the department to take their business elsewhere on 2 occasions, they were treating my staff very badly, being rude to them, thinking that they could do that, and I said, please go and shop elsewhere. I did that twice. At which point the managing director of the company said, Rick, I don't think you're cut out for this. You can't do that. He said, I agree with you, but you can't do that. I said, okay. Anyway, I left, decided to have a good look around. I didn't do much of that when I left Hague. I went straight into John Lewis because they offered a good management training program for ex-service officers, etc. I thought, well, I'm not going to jump into anything else. So I spent 6 months, went for 27 interviews, was offered 25 jobs. At the end of it, I went back to the first job I'd been offered, which was with Burroughs Machines Limited. Anybody go back that far? As a salesman operating out of the North London branch. I stayed with them until 1981, when I was headhunted into a company, the international division of the company, was part of the McDonnell Douglas Group, better known for aircraft, manufacturing old aircraft and fighter jets and bombers. And I joined them in their international division with responsibility for the Middle East. And that was Iraq, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait. Which is a very, very different place then in 1981 to what it is today. There are probably people here who've been to Dubai. I trust you, it was very different in 81. I hate it now. It has no soul. It's just big, loud, money, wealth, and it's lost its identity. So I went and started working out there, and after a couple of years I said to the company we should open a branch out there, so I opened up a branch for that company in Dubai in 1983. And then after about a year I said, we're in the wrong place, we should be in Saudi Arabia, because that's where the main market, very different today. So I said, we should move the office from Dubai to Riyadh, and they said, good idea. I said, well, great, okay, but I'm not going to go run it. I lived desire to live in Saudi Arabia with 2 young daughters. So I said, yeah, now what? I said, well, what are we going to do with you, Rick? I said, I don't know. So I'm not ready to go back to the UK. So they said, how about South Africa? So I said, that's interesting, never been there. It actually was a lie, because I came here in 1974 when I was the navigator of a frigate in the Royal Navy. But I couldn't do it. So they said, well, and they'd opened up a subsidiary here in South Africa, the same company, the same year as I joined them and looked after the Middle East. Anyway, I came down here in September '84 for a week, had a look around, thought, yeah, okay. They said, you're going to Durban? I said, okay. They said, you'll love that, it's the last outpost of the British Empire. Well, it was. Not the empire that I was familiar with, but the empire is sort of 25, 30 years earlier. So we came here on a 3-year contract in 1985, January 85, and I'm still here. We took our permanent residence in '87, and then in 1990 I started working in Joburg. The family stayed down in Durban because the girls were still at school. And for 3.5 years I commuted for the first 2.5 years every weekend by car from Joburg to Durban. It's 60 k's, the fastest 600 k's, the fastest I did it was 4.25 hours. Never again. Never again. It was just too much effort. Anyway, I did that, and that was tough. During that, I obviously got to know the real-time people. I got to know 2 particular people in real time, one called Leon Kutsia, and another one who's in this room today, Graham Liversidge, who had got involved with a product called CoreView, which was a BI product from Australia. They said to me, Rick, do you want to get involved in bringing this in? And I said, well, yeah, why not? So we did. And I didn't have a job, so I really took a leap of faith, trusted my gut and trusted me, and we set about selling that pretty successfully, actually. Our biggest customer turned out to be ICL, and it was embedded into that Promise application and spread around the country. Having spent about 1.5 years doing this, I felt a bit insecure. I had no base. How the hell, I was down really reliant on me. If I didn't sell, I didn't put food on the table. Didn't pay the bond or whatever it was. So it was getting a bit drafty. And I was operating out of the boot of my car. I was getting a lot of help from a couple of Progress partners, one of them being Cubicon, and the other one being Think Computing with Bernard Scott, who sadly left us a couple of years back. So I got to know, got involved in the Progress
and therefore Progress Environment, and then the real-time guys, Uwe Haas and co, decided that they thought I seemed to be doing a reasonable job. So when I then went to them and said, will you take on the distributorship for CoreView, I always say that was one of the best-selling jobs I've done when I persuaded them to do that. Because suddenly I was employed again, I had a salary, somebody else had the responsibility of getting the product in and everything like that, and I could just get on and do the job. What I discovered a few months after I'd joined them, and they set up a new company in real time for CoreView with me running it. What I discovered a little while after that was actually they didn't want CoreView. For some reason or other, they wanted me. Now, there were one or two people in the community who didn't think that was a good idea. Predominantly the Afrikaner mafia that I used to call them, which was predominantly the Cubicon people, but who took objection to this bloody POM, telling them how to do things or advising them how to run a business. So they were particularly anti it. And there was another guy who, God, what's the database guy that used to come here, now works for Dan Foreman. Dan Foreman, for some reason or other, had also taken exception to me, probably because I argued with him at a conference sometime, or whatever it was. But he also apparently, when he heard that there was a subsidiary being opened in South Africa, he made the mistake of saying to Justin Wright, but I don't think much of this idiot they've got running it. And that was me, and Justin had appointed me, so it was quite interesting. Anyway, so that was January 2000, and for the next 9-10 years, we grew the business. When we started, the size of the South African business was about 10% the size of the whole UK business. Within 3 years, we were at 16% of that UK business. So we did pretty well. But it's because of the partners, because of the strategy, the way Progress does business through the partners. Nobody buys Progress, they buy your applications. And that's the secret sauce, still to this day. Progress has been around for 42 years. 42 years, and we've got a number of customers, one of them in this room, a not so well-known company in Namibia, well-known in Namibia, but not so much in South Africa, Verman Brock, retail organization, retail competing with Spar and people like that. I'm Abigail, I hope you won't mind me saying this, but for years they were trying to get off Progress. And they tried probably about 5 years trying all sorts of things. And one day I got a call from Rudolph Fourie, who's the operations director. And he phoned me, he said, Rick, I give up. Please, can you come and help us move to the latest version of Progress? And that's a story we hear a lot of the time because it's robust, it works, and it carries on. So we've got another big company, they're not represented here down in the Western Cape, who has endorsed the product, and in their mind, they make another 15 to 20-year investment in the ongoing technology. So go back to my view in 1998, it was wrong. There was nothing wrong with the product. It was the way it was being managed, in my view. So we went on and did that, and then in 2009, December, there was another restructuring of the business within Progress. They did a lot of that, listed companies do. And we were very doubtful as to what was our future. But I went home on Christmas Eve on 2009, having received an assurance from my then boss, who was the VP for EMEA, that, no, don't worry, Rick, you'll be fine, it's business as usual. That was December the 24th. On December the 31st, New Year's Eve, I get an email from same individual telling me that on January the 4th, the head of HR for EMEA and the head of legal for EMEA would be arriving in South Africa to talk to us about the future of the company. So that's corporate talk for they're coming to fire you. Now, I had a pretty lousy New Year's Eve. The party I went to wasn't much fun. But I guess because I'm a determined bugger, I woke up the next morning, and please pardon the expression, I thought, fuck you. I've spent 10 years building this business. I'm not about to give that up. So the following day, I wrote an email to the CEO of Progress and said, I understand I'm being visited by these people on such and such a date. Although I've not been told of the real purpose, I understand that they're coming with a view to restructure, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to make an alternative proposal. I'd like to become your distributor. Now, I never got an answer to that email, but by the end of January, I'd had tacit approval to become the distributor, which then followed 5 months of hell because it didn't make it easy. The guy in charge at the time, the guy called Chris Larson, who did more damage than you could imagine possible to that business in a short space of time. And so we had some very interesting conversations, but we eventually won through. We actually won through. I got very frustrated dealing with these guys who, the guy probably didn't even know where South Africa was, let alone what we did. And he was dictating all sorts of things. So I got the hell in. And there's one infamous evening when I was on a call with the guy who I was dealing with directly in the US. He was a nice guy. We were good friends. I spent an hour and a half. And he learnt more descriptive foul language and the use of words that aren't in the dictionary and some that he'd probably never heard of. With me basically saying, if that's what you want, then go and find somebody else. And I played the brinkmanship game. And I played that brinkmanship game for the 2 or 3 times for the next few months. And every time, I won. So it was an interesting lesson. So come the middle of that year, end of June 30th, I went home as the managing director of Progress Software Pty Limited, wholly owned subsidiary, blah, blah, blah. I walked into the same office the next day, same people, same job, same customers. The only difference was I owned the company. And I felt a kind of justification. But part of that justification must go to the people who were with me then. And there are 1 or 2 in this room. And it was their support and their drive to say, we've got to make this happen. We're not going to let that happen. The idea was they were going to put a sales guy down here reporting to somebody in Europe. In other words, they were abandoning the market, and we were determined not to allow that to happen. So I then became like a kid with a new toy. Suddenly freedom, I can do what I want. And during the course of the next 12 months, I actually started and registered, I think it was 5 other companies. One of which was Delight at Work, which is a whole different topic. But others were consulting businesses and Easy Ask. Anybody remember Easy Ask? That was another BI tool that Progress dallied with. And we sold it here quite successfully. So that's how it all started. And I played around and realized that, okay, you're having fun, but now you need to knuckle down and make some money. And then I got a call one day from my good old friend Justin Wright. And he said, Rick, why don't you do me a favor? I said, sure. Okay. He said, I'd like you to have a look at a product for me. I said, yeah, sure. What's the product? He said, it's a BI tool. He said, I know you like BI tools. I thought, yeah, CoreView, Easy Ask. He said, I'd like you to have a look at it. I said, okay. So I said, what's the product? It's called Yellowfin. I said, okay. So I said, look, please, how do I get hold of it? Anyway, we got hold of it, and I said, look, I'm not qualified to do it. So I asked 1 or 2 friends to have a look at it. And Justin knows me pretty well, and he knew damn well that it wouldn't take long for me to look at it and decide to take it on. And that's what we did. And at the time, ClickView was the de facto standard in South Africa. Nobody heard of Yellowfin. It was sort of early days. And people said to me, why are you doing it, Rick? I said, well, first of all, I like a challenge. Secondly, markets like competition. And thirdly, why not? So rather blasé. But we did, and 10 years later, we have, I think, what could be described as a pretty thriving business. Progress continues due to the loyalty of all the people in this room and due to the due to just the sheer doggedness and brilliance of the underlying product. And by the way, if you're wondering, no, I'm not going away. I may be 3/4 of a century old, but I've still got some life in me. But I said to Gustav, the moment that he and the rest of the team, or not even the rest of the team, even he or Stephen or whatever, believe I'm no longer adding value, then I'm out of here. But that's what it's about. If I can continue to add value, then I'll carry on doing it. And by the way, I don't want to stop. Whatever I do, if that happens, I'll go and do something else. I do plan to write a book, but on delight at work, not on anything else. So one final thought for you after this, whatever it is, period of rambling. That's me. That's my motto. Gustav alluded to it earlier. I say to people, just when you think you've done everything you can in whatever it is, in wanting to close a deal, delivering a solution, or whatever it is, just when you think you've done, sorry, I'm trying to avoid the sun, everything you can, ask yourself, what else can I do? Because there will be something. So never give up. Never, ever, ever give up. Thank you for doing that.
So 10 years ago, you had your, what was it, non-retirement 65th party. And I think that was wrong, because I said to you, I'd like to retire like you did. And the reason I'm saying that is, what else do you want than having to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, at your own terms? And I think the reason why you are able to do that is you chose the right people around you. And by doing that, it enabled you to live your life that you do. And personally, I would like to thank you. You thank this room for what they did, but I think there's many people in this room that will look back and say, Rick, thank you for what you've done as a businessman, as an elder, as a friend, as a supplier, all of those things, and what you've taught me and these people. So I think, I don't even have a glass here, but can I ask everybody to raise a glass? And in a cheers to Rick and the next 35 years.